the Carefree Town Council to come to order. Ms. Gazelle, please take a silent roll call. And Mr. Dan Davey, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So this is our second consecutive meeting where we're actually live streaming the meeting. So I would just remind everyone, including myself, that when we speak into microphones, we speak into the microphone and we speak to the front of the microphone. That includes staff and anyone who speaks that call to the public. First item up is the consent agenda. Item number one, first, all items listed hereunder are considered to be routine by the Town Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be discussed separately. Item number one, approval of the February 3rd, 2023 Town Council Visioning Workshop. Item number two, approval of the February 7th, 2023 Town Council regular meeting minutes. Item number three, acceptance into the public record of the February 2023 paid bills. Item number four, acceptance of the cash receipts and disbursements report for January 2023. Any comments?
I think it'd be important if, Gary, if you could provide it just kind of a quick summary of what that visioning workshop was for the public.
So we'll remove that from the consent agenda. Can I have a motion for items 2, 3, and 4? Approval?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Mr. Neese?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council. Approximately 2 years ago, we had a similar session with the town council, the point of which is both incoming and outgoing council members collectively meet and talk about where we are as a community, governance, and talk about philosophically the vision for the organization moving forward. The end result 2 years ago was a work product which had a guiding principle and some core values and pillars that spoke about economic development and the importance, since we have a sales tax centric model. Talked about community development and how we will be updating our general plan and our zoning ordinance and our design guidelines over time. It talked about our infrastructure. As our community ages, our infrastructure ages, and reinvesting in our infrastructure and how we're going to do that. And so there was a lot of deliverables as a result of that, and we're incrementally working on those elements. And so this was another check into where we are within the status of that work plan, and validated some of the things that we're working on.
Thank you.
So I would now entertain a motion to approve item number 4 on the consent agenda. Number one, I'm sorry. Thank you. Number 1.
Item to approve, item number 1, Town Council Visioning Workshop.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, call to the public. So pursuant to section of the Town Code and Arizona statutes, those wishing to address the council need not request permission in advance. All you need to do is fill out a slip like this, and slips are right here. The public may address the council on matters not on the agenda. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, direct staff to study the matter, reschedule the matter for further consideration. However, the council may not discuss or take legal action at this time on any items that are not on our agenda. So we ask a few things. One, we ask that you please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. That you come up to the podium and you state your name and address. You speak to the council, you be civil, and just remember the meeting is live streamed, and so we're recording it. So you want to make sure that those who are listening at home or wish to watch the video and listen to the video tomorrow or sometime in the future can actually hear you. So please speak into the microphone. So from, let's see, Mr. Trainer. Are you here? Okay.
Last in, first out again, huh?
Top of the pile.
Thank you for making that announcement, Mr. Mayor, about the microphones, the use of them, because live streaming is useless if people at home can't hear anything. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. John Trainer, 8952 East Cave Creek Road, Carefree. I just wanted to make a quick remark about two topics that we keep hearing over and over again. One is called transparency, and the other is called trust. And without the one, you can't have the other. I recently had the opportunity, actually the need, to go through the water company audit reports. And I found some information that was not necessarily publicly broadcast. It was in the report, but it wasn't anywhere else. So I did some inquiries, and I got some answers, and I appreciated those answers. But then those questions led me to other questions. So I opened up the water company budget and rate package. And in that rate package, I came across an item on page B1 that talked about developer contributions of $1 million. And I was curious as to why a developer would be contributing $1 million to the water company. Pardon me. So I further inquired, and I did eventually get an explanation. But here's where the transparency comes in. Regardless of what that was, there was a footnote on that item, by the way, a footnote number. There was no footnote in the document. So you have to wonder, where did that go? Like many things, not explained. So $1 million contribution from a developer that turns out it was for the development that nobody was connected to on the corner of Carefree Highway and Cave Creek Road. I just found that interesting, and I thought the people in the audience would find that interesting as well. You can't have trust without real transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mike Davitt. So please state your name and address, sir.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
Mike Davitt, 37646 North Dream Street. And I'm old, so I need the readers. First off, a shout out to all the brave firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs at Rural Metro who have served Carefree with distinction for over 50 years. Like many Carefree residents, I'm retired, and as a retiree, I'll venture to say that's probably very common for retired people like me to analyze their budgets several times a year. And that's exactly what I did with my wife last week. Specifically, I was analyzing my finances for ways to make my savings last longer before I had to tap into my IRA. Call it a combination of fiscal responsibility and just good old common sense. Which brings me to a valuable corner in Carefree. My common sense gene says that the northeast corner of Carefree Highway and Cave Creek Road should have been developed long ago, certainly before any attempts of implementing a property tax. Whether it be commercial, residential, or a combination of commercial and residential, that undeveloped corner represents significant revenue for Carefree and its residents. Have a handful of residents and council members on Black Mountain declared not in my backyard, thus holding 3,400 Carefree residents financially hostage? Who knows? Let go of the excuses for not developing the property. What's relevant is the fact that it remains undeveloped while the town now seeks a property tax. That rubs me wrong, and it should rub Carefree taxpayers wrong as well. Thompson Thrift is now the second developer that has expressed interest in developing this corner. They have an excellent proposal that adjusts for today's economic reality with a design that complements Carefree's character, unlike the boutique Hampton Inn. So instead of developing a reputation for being difficult to work with, the town of Carefree should be developing that northeast corner. Another reason to vote against the property tax scheme.
Mr. Mayor, I erred in identifying the property I was referring to. It's at Tarm Darlington and Carefree Highway. I misspoke.
Mr. John Mattis?
Good evening, John Mattis, 37262 Northeast Graythorn Circle, Carefree. I'm also going to be reading my statement. On the latest March 23 Carefree Connection, the town official highlighted was Stacy Bridge Danzek, the Planning and Director Zoning Administrator. When asked what was her most memorable and favorite project, she replied she felt the most accomplished with the approval of the rezoning of the northeast corner of Cave Creek and Carefree Highway. She further stated understanding that the right type of commercial mix that will fit in that area is important. She also said the corner is now an important economic opportunity, which is hopefully soon benefit Carefree residents. I agree 100%. Since this corner was rezoned, there have been 2 projects that the town has worked on with developers. The first project was went to Planning and Zoning Committee. This project by Empire never completed or obtained approval for construction drawings to the pool permits. Currently, there's a development of Thompson Thrift that's been worked on for the last 18 months on a multi-use project for this site. There have been several meetings with nearby residents individually, town officials during the 18 months. The latest conceptual plan is a high-end duplex rentals at the back of the site and retail in the front. These resident duplex units back up to current HOAs. There have been elevation drawings completed by Thompson Thrift and show these duplexes are below the site plan of the backyards, homes of this backing up to this project. There would be a minimum impact due to landscaping buffer, grading differences, lower heights, and those approved for commercial. There are drawings that show this that were presented to the council and town officials. Thompson Thrift presented an economic and physical impact analysis, proposed residential and commercial development, June of 2022, as well as after the 2022 election, with the mayor and 2 council people and town officials. The economic and physical impact report was given to the town officials and council people, including the town administrator at these meetings. It was a complete analysis explaining why this would be the best project for the corner. The overview of the benefits in the report are new residents would spend $4.1 annually on goods and services in local community. Annual resident spending would support nearly 41 jobs, an estimated $1.9 million in wages, and $500 million in annual economic activity. Commercial operations within this community and retail restaurant space would create 239 jobs throughout the region and a total of 9.1 million. The build out, the town of Carefree would collect 1.3 million each year in new revenues from primary, secondary tax revenues generated. My only question is, who's stopping the project? It's ready to go. It would be built in 1.5 to 2 years. The
Time's up,
town
sir.
needs this money.
Please wrap it up. Thanks.
No, no problem.
Go ahead, you can wrap it up. I don't mean to cut you off, but thanks. Okay, Ms. Stephanie Barber?
Stephanie Barber, 1711 Staghorn. Carefree is asking residents to support a property tax, yet we have not put the single most valuable asset in our portfolio to work, the northeast corner of Carefree Highway and Cave Creek Road. That corner was rezoned commercial in 2018. 5 years later, during a booming economy, it remains undeveloped. Yet for Cave Creek, that intersection continues to thrive and generates the majority of their sales tax revenue. Empire, a developer, faced a long and expensive process to get that corner rezoned. Councilmember Johnson, president of his HOA at the time, hired a lawyer to negotiate what could and could not be built there. And while Empire finally got approval for rezoning, they abandoned the project and put the land up for sale. Next came Thompson Thrift, who contracted with Empire to buy the land. Since October 2021, Thompson Thrift has spent considerable time and money arriving at a mixed-use plan which balances high-end rental and retail. Their development plan is supported by an extensive market analysis of the area. They have met with Carefree's Planning and Zoning Director, our Economic Development Director, Town Administrator, residents of the area, and 3 members of our Town Council. Councilmember Johnson and Geiger have met with Thompson Thrift and have rejected their proposal simply because they do not want any form of housing in this area. 2 different developers have attempted to develop this corner and have faced nothing but opposition from Carefree. What is the common denominator of that area? A small group of residents who wield massive political power. This group is dictating the fate and the wallet of 4,000 residents. Opposition to Thompson Thrift's proposal impacts every single Carefree resident. Residents already face 30 years of repayments from the $35 million water transition debt. Ironically, one of the selling points the same group used to justify the water transition was to get water to that specific corner so that we could avoid a property tax. Yet we are now being asked to support a property tax, all because developers cannot satisfy this small group of residents. These residents would rather have everyone pay a property tax versus allowing a high-end mixed-use development near them. They would rather force a developer to build something that extensive research shows would sit predominantly empty. In order for Carefree to get this small group of residents to support rezoning in 2018, a conceptual site plan was negotiated. There was limited market analysis to support this site plan. It was simply what those residents and their lawyer would accept. The plan forces potential developers to build 25 acres of commercial office space with no residential, the exact opposite of what a current and much more in-depth market analysis indicates would be successful in this area.
We're past 3 minutes, so please wrap it up. Thank you.
No developer is going to go into the project knowing that it'll fail. And for that matter, why would Carefree allow our most valuable asset to be invested so poorly? But that is exactly what Carefree is doing in order to satisfy this group of residents.
Please. Oh, no, you can't do that. So, no, you cannot.
Why not?
Because I make the rules. So, Ms. Barber, please hurry up.
I have 1 more minute. May I have one
No,
more minute, Mayor
no,
Crane?
No, you're at 4 minutes. No.
They won't let me.
No.
Could you finish reading? Yes.
You can do a
She
call
can.
to the
3
public.
minutes.
Yes, you can do a call to the public, fill out a form.
I filled out a form, sir. So in order for Carefree to get.
This is the last.
Yep, this is, so start right here.
Okay.
Okay, so
Here.
Ms. Barber is finished. No, ma'am, you can come up. Ms. Neal, it's your turn. Please go up to the podium, state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Jan Neal. I'm at 1820 Eagle Claw. Excuse my throat, I have laryngitis. In order for Carefree to get the small group of residents to support rezoning in 2018, a conceptual site plan was negotiated. There was limited market analysis to support this site plan. It was simply what these residents and their lawyer would accept. The plan forces potential developers to build 25 acres of commercial office space with no residential, the exact opposite of what a current and more in-depth market analysis indicates would be successful in this area. No developer is going to go into a project knowing it will fail. And for that matter, why would Carefree allow our most valuable asset to be invested so poorly? But that is exactly what Carefree is doing in order to satisfy this group of residents. Several weeks ago, Ms. Barber specifically asked Carefree what was holding up development of this corner. She was told there is no proposal for the town to take any action on at this time. The town of Carefree is committed to working with any developer that meets the approved conceptual site plan. We will work cooperatively with the property owner to identify and attract opportunities. All very carefully worded responses. However, after speaking with Thompson Thrift, Ms. Barber had learned that these answers were misleading. Thompson Thrift has been trying unsuccessfully to work with Carefree for the last year and a half. It is not surprising that Carefree has earned a reputation among developers. If, like Empire, Thompson Thrift abandons this corner too, it is unlikely we will be able to attract other developers willing to waste their time and money on this specific corner when opposition is so clearly politically placed within Carefree. But perhaps that is the ultimate goal. Scare away all developers and leave this prized investment to continue to sit fallow. Thompson Thrift is a financially strong and experienced developer. They are willing to build a high-end rental and retail mixed-use space on this corner, a market-appropriate development for this thriving commercial corridor. Instead, developers of this corner are being held to a different set of standards than developers in the rest of Carefree. Carefree residents will continue to suffer financial harm at the hands of the small and politically powerful group as long as they remain intent on protecting their own self-interests.
Time.
I will conclude.
Please conclude. Please conclude.
Please finish.
Well, how long's your conclusion?
I have like 2 sentences. I will conclude by borrowing a phrase from an editorial entitled Boulder's Privilege. The author, who I believe is the town council member, writes, "Other Carefree residents seem to exist only to pay for the benefits of Boulder's residents."
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Brian Tobin. Please state your name and address.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Tobin. I'm the fire chief of the Daisy Mountain Fire Medical Department. My address is 41018 North Daisy Mountain Drive. I'd just like to make a few comments to you tonight to correct some previous publicly made comments from this dais. During calendar year 2022, 630 fire and EMS incidents were dispatched within the town of Cave Creek. There were a total of 1,566 individual automatic aid units that were dispatched to the town during the same time period. The town of Cave Creek Engine Company was dispatched only 48 times during the same calendar year to assist our automatic aid partners on incidents outside our boundaries. By the way, one of those dispatch incidents was a fire in North Phoenix that resulted in a firefighter mayday, and the Daisy Mountain crew was an active resource to assist the Phoenix firefighter who was trapped by debris that had fallen on him while extinguishing the residential blaze. For the first approximately 4 months of calendar year 2022, the Rural Metro Corporation had the Certificate of Necessity, otherwise known as a CON, for the town of Cave Creek. The Department of Health Services guidelines required that their ambulance was the first ambulance dispatched with our Daisy Mountain Engine Company on every EMS transport incident in the town during that 4-month period of time. That was a legal license agreement with the Arizona Department of Health Services for the Rural Metro existing CON. Daisy Mountain Fire Department was legally prohibited from using our ambulance units before Rural Metro used their units. This is not mutual aid. It was a legal requirement of the Rural Metro Certificate of Necessity. The Daisy Mountain Ambulance officially went in service on April 13th, 2022, after DHS amended our CON to include the town's legal boundaries. Once this occurred, additional ambulance transport unit responses were requested to rural Metro only 2 times to the town of Cave Creek. Carefree has approximately 3,500 residents within your boundaries. The Rural Metro Fire Department Northern Service Area includes the Rio Verde County area and other large County Island properties that total over 2,500 residents. Rural Metro relies on the Rio Verde unit for their backup for structure fires in their county areas. That response time is approximately 24 minutes away from the town of Carefree. Nationally and regionally adopted firefighting standard, NFPA 1710, addresses the initial full alarm assignment to a structure fire of approximately 2,000 square foot. If every available dedicated rural metro suppression firefighter was available to respond to Carefree for a working single-family residence, it would take at least 51 minutes for all resources to arrive on scene and 78 minutes for a working commercial structure fire, which requires even more firefighters and equipment. The value added for the nationally acclaimed
Okay, please wrap it up, sir.
Okay, I got 1 sentence left.
Sentence.
The value added for the nationally acclaimed regional automatic aid system in Carefree is the most efficient and effective public safety response and the highest level of fire and emergency medical security for all the residents of Carefree all of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up, Mr. George Nelson. Please state your name and address at the podium.
George Nelson, 8921 East Northview Lane, Carefree. To start with, I want to make sure that this is being recorded because last month neither my presentation nor Chief Soul's presentation was recorded. Residents called me to let me know that what we said, although all other presentations were recorded. So my main concern is, since the tax issue is certainly a budget issue for those of us that are fiscally conservative or responsible. So I'd like to get the information, since all of you that volunteer represent us, and those that are paid represent us. We pay those that are paid, and we have the trust in those that volunteer. So I'd like to know how much the town paid of our tax money for the consulting fees. And I'd also like to know how much the town has budgeted for, it appears to be a one-sided campaign to present the voters to vote yes. Along that line, since the mayor has personally told me, and I heard from other members here, the main intent, and I also heard from the town administrator, we want the residents to have equal information to all. I just wonder, number one, if the mayor is going to talk to HOA communities, if he was interested in hearing both sides. What's typically done in the political system, which we should have here, is an open debate, number one. Number two, someone should be invited along with the mayor so the residents can get a clear, open discussion, information on both sides. Additionally, if all the information and paraphernalia is being given out by the town, I'd like to know what the reason is that the town is not supporting any effort financially for the citizens to hear the reasons for a no vote, okay? So that is something that I'm very interested to know, why in the world we're not getting both sides, and I would like there to be a debate for the next month meeting here so the citizens can hear all sides, not from me, not from you, but from people that have a lot more experience with fire and EMS protection. Finally, the last thing in dealing with transparency, I just wanted to put on record that I came in late. The fine woman doesn't have to worry. I am part of a small part, but a billion-dollar investment group that builds skyscrapers and is big in here in Scottsdale as well. So I can assure you that we will get into finding out why we're not getting any progress with these different parcels for development for the benefit of the residents of Carefree. Thank you very much
Okay,
for your time.
thank you. Okay, so that closes call to the public. No more slips. Right, Ms. Gazelle? No more slips. That closes call to the public. Any comments from council?
I'd like to ask a
I
question.
I
Go
would
ahead,
just
sir.
like to wrap this up by saying, or at least for me, the town isn't paying anything. We are not running a campaign.
Please, please,
Are
you had
not-
your 3 minutes.
We are not running a campaign. We're not spending a penny on it. And there is a political action group. They are spending money on it, but there is nothing being done by the town of Carefree to try and sway anybody to go one way or the other.
And I would say, there's that handout, and I think it's right over there, and it shows some pros and cons. And if anyone thinks there's some cons or pros that are missing off that sheet, just let us know. Please, we invite that.
If,
Okay.
oh, go ahead,
Okay,
Mr. Hatcher.
I get the impression that many of you believe that the reason that property was not developed in 2018, 2019 was a decision made by this council not to do it. Is that correct?
Please, it's not rhetorical, but we're not engaging.
No, that's not correct.
It wasn't developed because we didn't have access to water.
It's not,
Okay?
I think it's important that everyone remember, for those of you that have been around, that the town of Cave Creek refused to serve us a will-serve letter for water. There was no water on that land. That's what helped to
Don't shake your head. I was there. I
steamroll
did it.
this whole process to get water. Now there is water there. There was no water on that land, sir.
order, please. Point of order. Call to the public is closed, and now council can discuss what was said.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
All you can do is, on the criticism, or under the law, you can ask, you cannot discuss or take legal action at this time. So you're foreclosed. What you can do is you can ask the staff or someone to review the matter. You can ask the staff to study the matter. You can reschedule the matter for further consideration. But this is not a time for dialogue between the council and the residents or in attendance.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. All right, let's close.
Current events.
Call to the public is closed, and now we'll go to current events. So, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that we have another seminar in our gardens this week. It's Colorful Landscapes Year-Round and Carefree. It's presented by Dr. Jacqueline Soul. She's going to be talking about the 7 principles of a low-water landscape, planning your design, selecting your plants that are adapted to the area, ways to improve your soil, use proper watering techniques, use appropriate mulches, limit lawn area, and use proper care and maintenance practices. So this sounds like a really good thing for people to attend if they want to make their outside landscaping prettier and more vigorous.
This weekend, the Kiwanis Club of Carefree's Pancake Breakfast is back, and it's a major fundraiser for the Kiwanis Club of Carefree, the proceeds of which go to the kids. And it will be this Saturday from 7 to 11 in the Sanderson Lincoln Pavilion. The Varsity Sports Radio Show will be hosting a live remote from the pavilion. Guests featured on the show, Mayor Crane, local veteran Bob Jenkins will be speaking of some veteran initiatives going on in the community. Nancy Gutfriend and Kiwanis Executive Director Sandra Carrier as well. 28th Annual Spring Carefree Fine Arts and Wine Festival, March 17th through 19th, 10 to 5 daily within our town center, noted for its rigorous jury, thus producing a festival unequaled in quality. Many new artists on display. March 25th for the Love of Story, 3 to 5 p.m. in the Sanderson Pavilion. join local authors and director and writer Nancy Gutfriend as a special group of Arizona writers read their true life personal stories during this dramatic show. And finally, March 30th through April 8th in the Sanderson Lincoln Pavilion, Desert Foothills Theater presents The Secret Garden. Join us for a masterpiece that families and musical lovers have long enjoyed. All of this, of course, on the town website as well.
All right, thank you. Any other current events from anyone? Okay, moving on. Item number 7, presentation and thanking to 4 outgoing planning and zoning commissioners. So last council meeting, we reappointed the town council, and there were 4 commissioners who are no longer sitting on the council, on the commission. And we'd like to thank them for all the work they've done. So planning and zoning does not only planning and zoning, but they are the Board of Adjustment, they are the redevelopment committee. They look at things that have ultimately come to the town council, like signage, like the redevelopment of the town core, that plan. They do a lot of work. They meet probably more than we do. And it's, they're public meetings, but they're kind of, you know, they don't get all the attention they should get, but they do a lot of hard work. And so there's 4 members who have served us who we would like to thank and acknowledge tonight. 2 of them are not here. The first is Lynn Hitchin. She served in that commission for more than 15 years. And she loves doing that job, and she loved doing it. But she's no longer on the committee. And she's 15 years. You think about all the things that have happened in 15 years. So she's done an immense amount of work. Second person who's not here, who's no longer on the committee, is Heather Burgett. Heather served for about 6 years. And Heather, for anyone who had ever attended a meeting, she was always thinking outside the box. She was always critically thinking and coming up with new ideas. And so we're very thankful for what she contributed to the commission for all those 6 years. And we have 2 other gentlemen who are no longer on the committee, and we have plaques for them. And so I'd like to step down and just give them to you. So first up, Mr. Phil Corso. So Phil, in grateful recognition for your hard work and dedicated service to the town of Carefree, Planning and Zoning Commissioner, Development Review Board Member, and Board of Adjustment Member. Thank you, Phil. Well done.
Get our picture taken?
And next up, Mr. Dan Davey. So Dan served with us for more than 6 years. So, and Dan, I don't know if you're an engineer, Dan, but Dan is very analytical, and he brought that to the party. So that was welcome, and you did a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's for you. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Goes without saying. All right, item number 8, review and discussion to amend review and discussion to amend the Planning and Zoning Code, Section 302, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Section 3.03, Development Review Board, to set out term limits for each. Mr. Neese.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. At the appointment process last month, it was discussed by members of the town council to have a similar 4-year staggered term as the council. I'm bringing forth the first reading of a possible ordinance to adopt such term limits, 4-year staggered term, with a maximum of 2 consecutive terms and a 2-year hiatus period between the respective terms before being considered again. At the appointment process, there were 3 incumbents and 4 new commissioners appointed. With the proposed amendment, the 3 incumbents will serve an initial term of 2 years, and if they desire to be reappointed again, go through the process. If they are appointed, they can serve a maximum of another 4 years, and then they would be termed out. The 4 new commissioners will serve an initial term of 4 years, and then they could once again go through the appointment process, and if reappointed, can serve another 4-year term and then be termed out. So the terms would be staggered, similar to the town council. There would be an appointment process every 2 years thereafter. So essentially, same term limits that run consecutively with the council. Once again, this is the first reading of this ordinance. No action is required tonight. The second reading will be the public hearing, and that's when the action formally occurs. That will be done in April.
Okay. Well, thank you. So just a couple other comments. One, this change in ordinance, or this ordinance proposal, is kind of modeled after the proposition that was passed by the voters, almost 2 to 1, to have institute staggered terms and term limits. So it follows that same model. And the voters, it was almost like 66 to 33. It passed 2 to 1. So taking the lead from that, I think this is a good thing. Secondly, we found from this last planning and zoning appointment process, we had 17 people step up. That means there's a lot of people interested in participating in our town, and we want to give them opportunities to do so. In fact, we want to give them opportunities after we're gone to do so. So it will be in the town code. So every 2 years, every election cycle, there will have to be commissioners who are either termed out or up for reappointment. And the town council, after we seat the new council after every election cycle, will have to make a conscious decision who they want to serve in that planning and zoning committee. So more citizens will be able to participate, and there'll be more opportunities to do so. So I think it's a good thing. And I'll open up to council for any other comments or questions. Okay. So with that, well, this is just for discussion.
That is correct.
So there's no, we just move on to the next agenda item. Okay, thank you. Item number 9, review, discussion, and possible action to authorize capital improvement funds for final plan development for pedestrian crosswalk improvement project. Mr. Millstone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. So tonight, we're asking you to approve the final contract value for Rick Engineers in the amount of $28,500 to take their design of the 3 crosswalks and come up with the final plan so that we can go out to bid. And we're seeing one of the crosswalks now. So this is Ridgeview Place. Everybody that lives here probably knows we've done an interim improvement, so it doesn't quite look like that right now. But the interim improvement was just that. It's not the final product. So we need to have our design consultant complete a final design project for Ridgeview Place. If you go to the next one, Gary, here's, well, that's no, that's not the right one. So we're looking, yeah, there we go. Wampum Way is our second crosswalk system. And so, you know, as you look at that, you see a crosswalk, but it's not up to today's standards. It doesn't have the flashing beacons. It doesn't have the advanced warning signs. There is a refuge area in this scenario, but as we saw in the other one, there wasn't one. So what we're planning on doing is making these a lot safer than what they are currently used at. And it talks about the pedestrians there. There was like 3 during the peak hour, but what we don't know is how many people would actually use those crosswalks when they're up to snuff and have the correct safety features in there. We expect a lot more to use it at that point. And the third one is completely new. So this is the intersection of Tom Darlington Road and Cave Creek Road. I actually saw somebody using it this morning, and there is no crosswalks, as you see, so people essentially are taking their lives in their own hands. But it was interesting to actually see somebody use it this morning. And so what we plan on doing here is to put 4 crosswalks, 1 in each direction, again with all the pedestrian equipment required by today's standards. So that was our 4th intersection. And then what I didn't say is, we were lucky enough to get MAG funding, Maricopa Association of Governments funding, to improve all three of these crosswalks. We were at our third year for trying, so it was either going to be a strikeout for the third year, and as it turned out, we actually got lucky, and so we got a good chunk of money, which we believe will be able to improve all three of these crosswalks and make our town safer for pedestrians. That's all I have, unless anybody has questions for me.
Well, thank you. So I would only ask, once they finish these designs, that they put them on some kind of an easel or something, like say in the reception area of Town Hall. And I'd even encourage you to have a meeting before it comes to council with the public, like a public outreach meeting. And so folks can come in and let us know what they think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I neglected to say, we expect to have final design, or I should say semi-final, which is about the 90% design stage, sometime in May. At that point, we're going to take them to a public information meeting, as well as bring them back to the council and ask all residents for their opinions. At the semi-final design stage, we can still incorporate small revisions, minor revisions, if some come up during those meetings. So yeah, we are going to allow a public information process. It's for people to look at them and tell us what they like and what maybe they don't like. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council?
No.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to authorize capital improvement funds for the final development plan for pedestrian crosswalk improvements.
I so move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 10, review, discussion, and possible action to authorize the mayor to execute a joint agency agreement for 3 Maricopa Association of Governments funded crosswalk improvements, all on Tom Darlington Drive, to include Wampum Way, Ridgeview Place, and Cave Creek Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. So this JAA, Joint Agency Agreement, is required once funding comes out of MAG and comes to us. It's actually, MAG is actually a pass-through. It's actually ADOT funds which get passed through MAG and come to us. The Joint Agency Agreement is a vehicle that explains our responsibilities, MAG responsibilities, how we obtain funds from them, what we need to do to obtain those funds, et cetera. So it's a requirement through MAG for us to actually accept the monies from them to build these improvements. And so the JAA is exactly the mechanism for fixing these crosswalks that I talked about in the earlier submission.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the council? It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to authorize me, the mayor, to execute a joint agency agreement with MAG to further these crosswalks.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. And adjournment.
Well, I would like to move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. Good to see you.